Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's March 7th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this is going to wrap it up for the week. No chart lessons on Friday, so this will be it for this week, and we won't be back again until Monday. But a couple of things. It is rollover time. I did not roll over today, as you can see. Um, I'm still trading the March contract. Generally, it takes a day or two for the volume to move over, and if you went to the June contract, you'll see there's just no volume there, so you really couldn't trade it. Uh, it'll probably be tomorrow that we'll switch over, and it could be Monday. Sometime it just depends on how quickly it's usually the day after or the second day, second trading day before I will roll over. So it all depends on the volume. But we had a big downtrend early here, just a continuation of yesterday's sell-off. Very strong early on. Then we corrected, probably about a 50% correction right there and we turned down again. And that's usually where you'll see, um, you would expect prices to try to fill the gap on the daily chart, and that gap would have been right in here, so we didn't quite fill it. So there's still a gap on the daily chart at this point. So, but you'd expect prices to try to fill it, but we got about 50% correction here of this early sell-off, and then we started another leg down. And I thought it was interesting if you measured the leg from the opening down, it's like a perfect measured move to the tick. That's generally not what you're looking for. Generally, you're looking for the entire leg. We didn't quite make that, and you can see we rallied from that point on. But once we started bouncing here, we kind of went into this range right here. We fell lower, then we got back in this range, and we're on either side of it a couple of times. But when we headed up, I would measure that distance right there, and that's where we went to. You can see we went a little bit higher, and then we got inside that one, and we broke out and above a couple of times. We actually had some lower resistance right here, and then once we broke out again, if you just measured that distance, that's where we went again. So you don't see that a lot. We just kind of jumped from one section to the next is what we did, but it still had an upward feel to it. But notice how we're above and below the EMA consistently. You can generally trade it both ways. This thing had a big bearish bias to it. Going back up, we didn't get a lot of really strong trades here, so you'll notice most of those are green. There's a few blues in there, not many, because this thing still had a flat to a downward bias to it. And so, but again, you can trade it both ways if you get a good setup, but most of the setups were from sales off the highs. So you'll see that through here, and you'll see a few buys in here. Most of them are green. There just weren't a lot of good setups. And then we started another nice downtrend. There's a few nice setups here into the 2 o'clock hour. So I'm going to back out. We'll talk about the trades, and we'll wrap up for the week. But yeah, just remember that on the rollover, we don't generally roll over the first day. There's just not enough volume. Most people don't roll the first day. And if you're going to day trade, you got to stay where the volume's at. So anyway, first trade I saw, actually 7 o'clock hour came. We were moving up through here, and it'd been nice if we could have got a good short setup. If this would have been a little more bearish right here, I might have liked that one, because you get those 3 little pushes up way away from the EMA, and then it fails. But this signal bar is not very good, and you don't want to chase it over here. You're right into the lows right here. It's a little congestion. We're probably headed down, but you need to wait on a lower high, and you get that here again. Horrible signal bar. But then you finally get a failed second entry long here, and that's probably going to trap the longs. I like going short there. Again, it still didn't take off. It just kind of went sideways. This one was tempting as well, a little failed break, but you just don't have any room back to that low side right there, and you can see that. Of course, it shoots right through there, but you don't know that. You might have looked at the measured leg there and said, okay, we're probably going to get one here, which gives you plenty. And we actually got way more than that. But you just can't bank on that because sometimes it bounces early. There's just not really a good setup. So you got this quick scalp, and then you had to kind of be patient. Then you came back to finally you came back to the key entry point. And I drew this off the lows and drug it up. And it fit perfect here. And then when it came back and confirmed it on the second entry short, that's not a perfect bar. It's mostly bearish. Notice that low, first entry, second entry. The fact that it's off that key entry point, the second entry, and mostly bearish bar, and you hadn't had a lot of trades, I think you want to probably try to take that one. Then we come back again, and you get this huge bearish bar, and you got plenty of room to get out. It's a first entry, but the channel is so small, you're not going to get a lot of second entries. It's just not going to happen. So you don't have much choice but to take that one. Same thing here. It's pretty obvious this is a strong trend at this point. We're starting to get away from the EMA, but this is a real strong sell-off. So this being at the key entry point and being that bearish, I'm probably going to take it. This one, no. Not a very good signal bar. There's like 3 stacking up there. We're just too far away for too long down here. These are all tempting, but you know, eventually it's going to bounce and you're going to get burned on one of them. So you're better off just sit that one out. And of course we bounce here, and then we make a little top, and you make a little failed break higher here. This is a second entry short, and this is just like an up-down bar. So this is an inside bar. But this would be a second entry short, and if you just combine those two bars, you basically get, you want to give your latest bar the most credence, basically. But sometimes those inside bars are not very reliable. But you could also, you know, it's the fact that this is a failed breakout. It's a second entry short. For those reasons, I like it. You're probably going to come back down here and test this low, and you're probably going to try to make a new low. And of course, you got plenty of room to get out there. So I marked that one. It's real close. You could argue for it to be green, but as strong as this has been, with it being a second entry and a failed breakout, this, you know, this little double top, and look how many times we try to go. You know, when it breaks out of there, it should take off, and when it doesn't and turns down, if it breaks lower here, you're probably going to get at least a scalp. It bounces, but we don't have a new low in, and this has been too strong a market, and it looks like it's starting to go sideways, so I don't think you want to go long. Not a very good short there. Lower high here on another second entry short, but you don't have much room there. And look where that one bounced higher. So I think you have to skip that one. It would have ended up working, but you would have had to ride all this out. And then it finally drops lower. And we do try to go higher a couple times. Again, this is similar to this over here. You're just better off sit that out and wait on a correction. And notice what happens. We run up, you make a first entry short, you push on through, you pull back, you make a second entry short that goes out the low end and turns, it goes out the other. I like going long right there. Everything's played out to the downside. We're overdue for a correction. It may, you know, a lot of times a correction may only go sideways, which is kind of what happens here. It does have an upward bias, but this is mostly just sideways. We're up and down and below. And this support line and this resistance line are still in play all the way across here. So, and we actually come back here and test the low and give you another bullish bar. This one's real close. It's still inside this trend line. You may take that one, but the last resistance was right across here. But you got to figure, since we're back in and bouncing off the low of that range, we're probably headed back to the highs. So you may take that one. It's a little bit aggressive. I don't like entering here because that's really your first convincing close out. It actually does close outside and make a new high and then turn down. But I think you want to wait on a lower high, which doesn't come to here. And by that time, you're already have what looks like a close outside that one. So And if you'd have taken this one, you'd have got burned on it. So um, this one's real iffy here. Taking anything short there, especially because if it bounces anywhere in here, we get a higher low. So you're probably going to get two legs up, and you can see this. All this movement looks like one leg. So at some point, you expect it's probably going to bounce, and you'll get another leg. And you can see that we missed it by a tick or two, but turns out there's a trend channel up here, and we just ran into it. But it's a shame you didn't get a good second entry long there. Again, not a very good signal bar. That would have been a nice trap, and it probably did trap some people because look how that strong that bar is. But you can't chase the trade, and you don't have a very good setup here. So you just watch it. It actually comes back here, but now you're right back into the highs. You don't want to go long there, even though it would have worked. And notice what happens. You make this high, you make a lower high, you push through the EMA, you pull back, and you get a failed second entry long. So I like going short there. And you're just looking for it to come back to here, and it may come all the way to here. So notice it bounces here, comes back, bounces down again, and then comes back down to here, or back down to the trend line. So there's a second entry long right here. This is basically a double top, so first entry, second entry, and notice where it's bouncing. If it had been a double test, I'd say, hey, yeah, we might take that one. But it makes a lower high, then makes another lower low. You do have some strong support right here. Excuse me. You do have some strong support right here. But I'd wait on a higher low. So when you make that double bottom and everything's, and this one actually closes inside this line and everything's just kind of going sideways there. You got enough room to get out before the EMA, but we may head to here. And this thing just keeps going. That turns out to be a pretty nice trade. You could almost argue for this one to be blue. If it would have, it actually closes inside here, but I would have liked to seen it open here too, because it closes 2 times outside of it, right? Or actually 3 times counting this bar. So, and you really don't have a whole lot of information, even though you could get this off the highs and drag it down, and it does bounce right there. You probably want to see a third touch, and you really never get that because the next time it comes back down here, you get a close outside. In the end, I think this is valid, but at that point in time, you know, you don't have a whole lot of evidence this line. I mean, you got your original low, and it bounces here. And if you'd drawn that line off those highs and bring it down, you can see it works, but there's just not a whole lot of evidence there that's going to make me brave enough to say, hey, I'm definitely going to take that one. If you want to be a little aggressive, it might, those kind of pay off, and notice that it did. You would have got a runner here, and it would have paid off well. That thing ran, 10 points. So that's a pretty good move right there. Then we just start going kind of sideways again. You just better stay off. You're better off to stay out of that. Notice it fails out the top and then runs down. But sometimes it'll fail out the top, out the bottom, out the top, a few times before it takes off. So the one thing that would tell you may go short there is that measure. We've had a measured move, and we're a long way away from the EMA, and we're right at this resistance area. And so you may go short there, but you're going short right into that strong support. But eventually we're going to push on through there. So I'd probably skip that one, but it's just something to think about. Now you're better off for the lower high. It comes right here. And notice you still got plenty of room down to here. If this channel is correct, there's plenty of room down to here. So I like that one. It actually pulls back and gives you a failed second entry long here. So you could re-enter again, but the reason I don't like entering there is you don't have much room to here. And notice it bounces there. It would have given you enough for the scalp before it bounced, but you just don't know that's going to happen. The fact that it's a trap may make you less concerned about that. So we'll go ahead and make it green, but I really think you're better off to skip that trade. But there is a trap there, and you may trap some. You may get some longs that come on. And this thing actually went lower first, and then turned and went higher, and then came back down. So you would have had to almost wait for this bar to finish and then go short below it, and that just doesn't leave you a whole lot of room before coming back to here, and it may bounce there, so you got to be real careful of that. It actually does bounce there. Um, this trend line's working down. That's not a convincing close outside yet, and this is just kind of, notice it didn't really act as support on the previous resistance line, so I'm not going to take it right there. Lower high here, but you're right back into the lows, and then you get this little double bottom here. So now you get a double test. So you may take that one. Notice that double top, first entry, second entry, and you do have room to get out before. Notice we're getting resistance a little lower than where we were. So you do have room to get out. So you may take that one. I like this one better because now you've made a higher low after a double bottom, and you got a fairly bullish bar there too. And so I like that one better. You still got plenty of room to get out. And of course it turns right back down, and now you got this high and you get a double test, big bearish bar. I like that just to ride it back to here if you have room, and you do. This actually goes a little further, comes down here, and this is what makes me leery of this trend line, is that we just shot right through it, and you can see prices come back and react, but it just turns and works higher, and you just don't get. I'm not going to enter here. Two dojis basically, and then you're all the way back to the top, and you don't want to go long into that, and you actually do shoot through and pull back and close above it, but you're right here at these highs. You want to see this active support, but I'd like to see a higher low, and you don't get a higher low. It just takes off. Notice it does bounce off that support, and it closes above that one, so that's another one you could argue for it to be green, but again, I think you're better off just to wait and see if you get another pullback in the test, but it doesn't happen, it just takes off. So and then we run up that equal distance back up to the upper side of where you would expect the trend line to be, and get a little bit of an overshoot. Look how far away we are now. This one's real tempting, especially with this what looks like a close outside and this being right there, but generally you just want to wait on that lower high. Comes right here, big bearish bar, go short right there, and then your failed second entry. This actually should have been here. Let's mark that. And you get your failed second entry short here. It is into the EMA, but this thing going both ways, and now you've got a close outside a new high. I like those, and you might take this one. This one should have actually been green. It's just a first entry. It does close below this support resistance line, but again, I'd like to see that act as resistance, and it doesn't really. We're just kind of really working both sides of it. Notice how it jumps too. The odds are you may not even get filled on that because you don't have, it's already trading down before you can get your order in, so you probably got to use a limit order. Would it get filled there? I'm not 100% sure. It wouldn't have probably filled it when it came back here because it didn't trade through it. So I don't know if you could have got in that one anyway. I think it went pretty quickly, so it'd be hard to say. But you do get one more chance. Notice it runs down here and it comes back first entry, comes back second entry, and you get a second entry short, and you got enough room to get out. Big bearish bar, it's right off that key entry point. You do already have a close outside and a new low in place, but I would measure this last leg. If we go lower, that would be my target. You can see we went a little further than that. First leg was even shorter than that, but there's your second leg. So there's the target for that one right in here. And as we tried to bounce in there, pushed lower and then did reverse. So that would have been a good target for you. And again, you're just working off the lows here. You've been away from the EMA a while. It's late in the day. I don't think you want to take. There is another pull back to the key entry point here, but it's the first entry. It's right at 2 o'clock. It's another one you could argue for to at least make it green, but that late in the day, I'll be honest with you, that doesn't appeal to me. There's just too much can go wrong there. And you do have to take into account the previous low right there. So if you move this line down to there, you can see you did push through it, but it pulls back and you got to go short right into it. That's another reason just to say, hey, I think I'm going to skip that trade. So anyway, plenty of trades today. You had to be a little patient at times, especially early on. Things didn't get moving till after 8:30, and then they kind of went flat here. There weren't a lot of trades really from 9 to 11 o'clock. There's just a couple of trades there. Most of them are green. And so it got really slow. And then when we started back down again, there's some pretty good trades. So, and there's still trades in there. And there's a bunch of green ones. But, the green ones are always, especially if you're learning price action and new to this, you probably want to stay away from those aggressive trades. But as you get better at it and you understand what's going on, you may take some of those. There's always a risk reward issue with those type trades. Sometimes they catch, like here, they caught a really big move. Where's another one that caught a really big move? This one took a fairly good move, and this one you see would have been another really good move. So if you could get in it, but it's questionable if you could have got in that trade or not. But the one reason to be aggressive if you're trying to do it is because you're trying to catch those major important reversal areas and things like that. So, but a lot of times you'll still get an opportunity, just like here, we reverse back down up here and you got two good opportunities to enter. The same thing here, we looked like we were reversing here, which we were, didn't take off as strongly, but you got an opportunity to enter there. You didn't get any long-term runners, but you still got a chance to enter, and you had to be playing these aggressive ones to really get another chance. So, but that's because really the overall bias had pretty much been down. And here, even though there is a little two-tiered channel, this is mostly flat. And you can see how we're working inside these little ranges, and we just jump up to the next level, and we're working that one, and then we jump up to the next one. We don't stay up here very long. And we're coming back down, and we're just working our way down again. And this is just a continuation of the original sell-off. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. That's going to wrap up our week. Yeah, we'll be back again Monday, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.